Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nazir test. We begin a brand new Perek Sheni. Says the Mishnah, Hareini Nazir. So far so good. But he adds, Min Hagroi Grois, I'm going to be a Nazir from dried figs, no less, Umin Hadvela, or from pressed figs. This isn't your typical Nazir material, where a person abstains from wine, grape-related materials. This fellow claims he's going to be a Nazir from figs. What happens now? Beis Shammai Oimrim Nazir. We apply Nazirus. He has accepted upon himself to become a standard Nazir. Although he added something pertaining to unrelated materials, it doesn't matter. We focused on the first part of his declaration, Hareini Nazir, which triggers the standard Nazirus. Not at all. Because when he added unrelated materials, Groigros and Vela, it was to his detriment, meaning it undid that initial part of the declaration. We don't treat it as a Kabbalah's Nazirus at all. The Gemara will explain and elaborate on the reasons of both Shittos. So according to this version, which is Tanakama's version, Beis Shammai hold, Hareini Nazir min HaGregors triggers a regular Nazirus commitment. According to Beis Hillel, nothing at all. Here comes another version of this machlekes, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Don't take it that far. Even when Beis Shammai consider this to be a Kabbalah, consider this declaration to be a commitment, but it's limited. Lo Amru, they never meant to say he will become a Nazir. Ela ba'omer, rather, we are speaking where he himself explains to us, look, Harei hein alai korban, all I meant to say was that I will be makabel upon myself an Isser Neder, which is related to Kedushas Korban, as we had back in Maseches Nedarim. It was a way of saying, I want to abstain. Because that's the literal translation of Nazir. Nazir means to separate, to abstain, to become distanced. From what? From Groigros and Vela. I meant to be makabel, a plain simple Neder. That's all. Therefore, according to Beis Shammai, it works, even though he said the word Nazir, but he explained himself. He was just using the term Nazir as a way to make a neder. And even so, Beis Hillel say, well, it doesn't work. You said Nazir, either you mean it or don't say it, and therefore it doesn't work. Explains the Gemara, Hareini Nazir, min hagroi grois umin hadvela. So back to the Tanakama, Beis Shammai Oimrim Nazir, it makes him a Nazir. The question is, why? V'amai? Mikoil asher ya'aseh megaven hayayin. Amar Rachmana. The pasuk clearly ties Nazirus to wine-related products. This fellow committed himself to abstaining from Groigros and Vela. The answer is Beis Shammai Savri Look Rab Meir. This is a sugya in Maseches Tzmura. Rab Meir holds like this: when a person speaks, when a person utters words, it's not for naught. At least in those days, people spoke words of value, meaningful expressions, impactful verbalizations. Beis Shammai follow Rab Meir's Shita. The Amar Ein Adam Moitze Dvarav Latolo. When a person says something, he wants to make an impact. He wants to influence. He wants to trigger something. So even though he added some unrelated details, the fact is he's trying to do something. Hareini Nazir, let's take it at face value. Let's make him a Nazir. That's Beis Shammai matching up with Rab Meir. Beis Hillel Savri like Rabbi Yosi. Beis Hillel hold like Rabbi Yosi, who disagrees with Rab Meir. The Amar B'Gmar Dvarav Adam Nitfas. We have to take the totality of expression, even though he said some things which can be applied. But the fact is, he added more stuff. B'Gmar Dvarav. You have to take everything from beginning to end as one big package deal. Hareini Nazir on its own would have triggered Nazirus, but since he added unrelated details, Groigros and Vela, that undoes his commitment. You know what it's like? A person makes a neder and goes to the Chacham and releases himself of the neder. Gets a Taurus and Dharam. Here as well, he says, I'm going to be a Nazir. Then he pulls out the rug. A Nazir from Grey Grace. It's like he's trying to release himself of the neder, and he undoes what he did. That's Beis Hillel. Ubei Shammai Nami. Well, the question is, how do Beis Shammai respond to this argument? Neder u'pischai imayu. Sure, ein adam, moitzi dvarav levatalo. Hareni Nazir, take it at face value, but he added Groigers and Dvelo, which indicates that he's changing his mind. He doesn't really want to be a Nazir. Ubei Shammai Nami neder u'pischai imayu. How do we get around that? Answers the Gemara, according to Beis Shammai, you cannot retract. Once you commit, it's done. Ella, rather like this. Beis Shammai Savral Kirab Meir. First of all, Beis Shammai and Rameir are on the same track. As we explained, Damar Ein Adam Moitzi Dvarav V'atal. When a person says something, it carries weight. It has to have an impact. V'kiven the Amar Hareni Nazir. So once he began with Hareni Nazir, Havali Nazir, that makes Nazirus. And even though he added Kiko Amar Mina Groigros U Mina Dvela, that doesn't undo his commitment. You know why? Li'itshuli Hudukasi. It is as though he approaches a chacham to release him from his commitment, and you cannot do that. Pertaining to a hegdish or a nazir commitment, you can't undo it. Here's a chiddush. You can undo other nadarim, provided they don't pertain to a hegdish. And nazir is a form of hegdish. The pasuk says, "Kadosh yeh gadol pera sar roishay." Taisus called it a kedushas shah. You can't undo that. Ubei Shammai litamayu. Beis Shammai, following their known shita, the Amri, they say ein she'ela behegdish. Once a person makes something hegdish, this animal is an oila, it's over. It's an oila. You cannot go back on that, even though it's a chiddush. Even though what generated the kedusha, your words. So even though your words empowered the hegdish, but once it's hegdish, it's a done deal. It takes on a life of its own. And likewise by nazir. V'kivan the ein she'ela behegdish, just as you can't do she'ela by hegdish, ein she'ela b'nazirus, the same thing with nazirus. Once you said it in nazir, even though you're going back and you're backtracking by saying, well, I only mean minat groigers, it's too late. That's Beis Shammai. Therefore, he is a full-fledged nazir. Ubeis Hillel sabri k'Rabbi Shimon, whereas Beis Hillel hold like Rabbi Shimon, that if you misexpress your commitment, it doesn't work. The Snan of Rabbi Shimon Poiter, Shlo Yisnadev Kederach HaMisnadim. This is a Mishnah coming up soon, Anamid Beis. Unless a person donates the way you're supposed to, it doesn't work. We don't reinterpret your words to make it work. Likewise over here, Beis Hillel hold like this. First of all, as Taisus explains, you can have she'ela, you can be chayzer, you can retract. So once he says min ha'gregers u'min ha'dvela, which indicates a change of heart, he can undo that nazir commitment. Okay, so he's not a nazir. But what about having to keep a neder, meaning perhaps just plain neder from gregers and dvela? That too doesn't work because Reb Shimon holds unless you express yourself properly, there's no commitment. And here he sort of was dancing on both sides of the coin. Nazir from gregers. Nishtahi, nishtaher, it doesn't work. There's no commitment at all. That's the Tanakama's version of events. So Mas Nisan, in fact, our Mishnah's presentation of Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, the Lekei Tana, is not consistent with the following Tana's presentation of the same machlekes. The Sani Rabbi Nosson Eimer. Rabbi Nosson had a different presentation of the machlekes. Beis Shammai Eimer Nader v'Nazir. When a fellow says, I'm a nazir from Gregers and Dvela, Beis Shammai say, look, it's up to you. Pick your choice. We ask you what did you have in mind. You meant Nazirus? Okay, you're a nazir. You meant just to be nadir, distanced, usher from Gregers and Dvela? Well, that can also work. We give you the choice. However you explain yourself, that's what you're committed to. Either or. Ubeis Hillel Eimer Nader ve'ein nazir. When you say Harini Nazir from Gregers, you mean to say you're also to eat Gregers, but don't mix Nazirus into the picture. What's the reason of the machlekes? Beis Shammai Samar L'Rab Meir. Beis Shammai, as we just explained before, go with Rab Meir. Ein adam moitzi dvarav vatala. You mean what you said what you meant. Words have value. Even if we have to redirect your words in order to make them work, they work like that too. And therefore, when he said Hareini Nazir, that can theoretically trigger Nazirus, even though he added some, unrelated, contradictory stuff. Uk Rabbi Yehuda. Beishamai also holds like Rabbi Yehuda, now Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda was the one who said that going to Beishamai, it's not going to trigger a Nazir, it's going to make him usher like a regular carbon, like a regular nether. So, according to Rabbi Nassan, Beishamai adopted both approaches. Either way, either or. Either we can apply it like a regular Nazir, or if you choose to, if you interpret, if you explain that you meant nether from Gregors, that too can work. And the Chiddush, even though he said already Nazir from Gregors, we accept your interpretations. That's Beishamai. Ubesilal Savri Loki Rabbi Yosi, or according to Girsa or Rabbi Yehuda. Beisilal hold that it only triggers nether from figs, like Rabbi Yehuda. We treat it as a nether, not like a Nazirus. That's one version of Rabbi Nassan, which is different than our Mishnah. There's another version of Rabbi Nassan in the way he interprets, the way he presents the machlekes of the Mishnah, which actually fits very well with Rabbi Yehuda's presentation of the machlekes in our Mishnah. This type of language triggers a nether from figs, but not Nazirus. This fellow is not in a state of nether from figs and is not a Nazir. Why? Beishamai hold that it triggers a nether from figs, like Rabbi Yehuda now Mishnah. Still hold like Rabbi Shimon, which we mentioned before. If you're not misnadev kederach misnadev, if your language doesn't conform to standard practice, you don't redirect and modify your language to make it work, it's not considered a commitment. So, at the end of the day, we have three ways to present our machlekes. A fellow got up and said, Hareini Nazir min ha-gregres u'min ha-dvela, which obviously doesn't work. It's either you're Nazir from grape-related stuff, or you're a Nadir from gregres. So we have Beishamai Beisilal. According to Danakama's version, Beishamai considers him a Nazir, based on Reb Meir's concept. And therefore we take the words Hareini Nazir at face value. Even though you added something to do with figs, well, Ein She'ela B'Hegdish, Ein She'ela B'Nazirus, you can't go back on your word. Beisilal will say nothing happens. Like Reb Shimon, you have to do it the way it's normally done. According to Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah, which is actually Rabbi Nassan's second version as well, Beishamai say, well, forget about Nazir, but he's Nadir from Gregros, and even that Beisilal disagree, like Reb Shimon, Shaloi Nadav Kederach HaMisnadvin. According to Rabbi Nassan's first version, Beishamai give him a choice. If he picks Nazirus, go ahead. If he meant to say Neder, go ahead. According to Beisilal, we only apply Neder because he explained it. He said, I'm a Nazir from Gregors. That means I'm abstaining from Gregors. Okay, so let's go to the next shtickle Gemara, which actually will make reference to this famous Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon is in Mesechas Menachos. We have a Mishnah Mesechas Menachos which goes like this. So we know that a standard mincha, other than two exceptions of minchas soita and minchas oimer, which are brought from barley, typically a mincha is brought from wheat, and not just plain wheat, soilus, the high quality flour. A fellow gets up and says like this: I'm bringing a mincha, but I have my own recipe, barley. What happens? Yavi min achitim. He's obligated. He has to bring a mincha, but you have to bring it from chitim. If he says, I'm bringing kemach, unrefined flour, yavi soilus, he will have to bring better flour. He says, I'm bringing a mincha, but I'm leaving out the following ingredients: shalei b'shemen, no levina, no oil, no levina, incense. Yavi ena b'shemen, no levina. He brings his mincha with those included. Let's say he says, I'm bringing chatzi isaron, half the standard measure of a mincha. It triggers a full commitment, yavi isaron shalem. He brings a full one. What if he says 1.5, which is also not acceptable? Isaron mechza, that triggers a 2 isaron obligation, yavi shnai. Tanakama holds we modify his commitment. Even though he said A, we obligate him to bring B, standard, whatever the standard procedure is. Rabbi Shimon Poiter, he says no, he's potter completely. We can't just reinterpret. Tanakama maintains, well, he probably meant to bring a regular mincha, but he didn't realize, or whatever it is. We'll see in a minute how this works. And therefore, he must bring a regular standard mincha. Rabbi Shimon Poiter says he's completely potter. Why? Shlo yisnadev kederech hamisnadim. That's not the way people donate. So we can't just reinterpret and modify his commitment. He said what he meant. Well, if it's not feasible, he's potter. Now, we're going to try to focus on Tanakama. Tanakama, who says that he's chayiv, despite the fact that he mispackaged this commitment. Mantana, who in fact is this shita of Tanakama, who holds the Chiyamar, who says Harei la mincha min asorim, maybe min achitim. That when a person says the Chiyamar, I'm going to bring mincha min asorim, he brings from chitim, even though he didn't say achitim. How can you obligate him to bring a regular mincha? Amar Chizkel, guess what? It's our shita in Maseches Nazir. It is contingent upon a machlekes tanaim, and who is speaking? Ubei Shammai. This is Beis Shammai. What's the connection? Lav Amri Beis Shammai. Didn't Beis Shammai just tell us? Ki Amar min ha-groigers, u'min ha-dvela. Havi Nazir. When a person gets up and says, I'm a Nazir from groigers, und dvela, unrelated material, it triggers Nazirus. Why? How? The answer is, as we explained before, Ein Adam Moitzi Dvara Vatala. A person's words have meaning, are meant to be impactful, and therefore we focus on the first part of your expression. Harini Nazir, we stop right there, and it triggers Nazirus. We sort of modify what you say to make it work. Hachanami here as well in Menachos. Even though he said Harei la mincha, and he added from Sa'irim, maybe min achitim, we modify, we redirect your commitment. Ein adam moitzi dvar l'atala. Chances are you wanted to bring a mincha, and that triggers a chiyuv to bring a standard mincha. So Chizki explains that this Tanakama follows Beis Shammai, just like Hareini Nazir triggers Nazirus, despite the fact that he added some unrelated materials. Likewise over here, Harei la mincha triggers a chiyuv mincha, a standard chiyuv mincha. That's the halach. Rabbi Yechanan Amar, afilu tema divrei hakoil. You know what, says Rabbi Yechanan? The shita, the Tanakama, in Maseches Menachos, can match all shitas in Maseches Nazir, even Beis Hillel, who hold that over here it doesn't work, but over there, well, you know why? We're speaking about a unique case where this fellow comes and explains what he had in mind. But He's telling us, had I known, I wasn't aware of the fact that you can't bring a carbon from Sa'irim. I know that there's a carbon ha'emer, there's a minchas saita. I thought perhaps I can donate this as well. He says, if I would have known you can't, I wouldn't have spoken about barley. Of course, I would have committed to regular achitim. So once he explains it, this is what he meant. Of course, you can accept it as a commitment. So the bottom line is, when a fellow says, I am bringing mincha from unsuitable material, Tanakama says it works, but he brings a standard mincha. Rav Shimon says he's totally potter. Why does Tanakama apply chiyuv? Two ways to understand. Chizkiah says, well, that's Beis Shammai. If the words at the start, at the initiation of your declaration make sense, we just grab that, we focus on that, and that triggers a regular chiyuv. A regular chiyuv, Nazirus Bayas, a regular chiyuv mincha over there. According to Rabbi Yechanan, we don't have to say that. He himself is telling us, look, I made a mistake. And of course I meant a regular mincha, and therefore he's chayiv. Next machlekes, between Chizkiah and Rabbi Yechanan, how far do we go? How far do we stretch this halach? Amar Chizkiah, lo yishanu. When does Tanakama apply a chiyuv mincha, min achitim? Elosh amar min hasa'irim. That's limited to a case where he made reference to sa'irim. which is something that is potentially mincha material. Aval amar min hadoshim. But suppose, instead of referring to barley, you refer to lentils, the beans. Loy maisi loy klum, he's totally putter. Why? It would seem that Chizkiah now is applying a totally different rationale to Shitas Tanakama. It's about mistakes. It's about misunderstandings. He really meant to bring a regular mincha, and therefore, we figure that's really what he wanted to do. Just he mistook sa'irim, thinking that it would be a suitable material, like we find, in some menachos. But if he clearly indicated it's material which is totally unsuitable, adashim, of course he's totally potter. He never meant to bring a mincha. 1 second, says the Gemara. That's totally inconsistent with Chizkiah's interpretation of that Shitas Tanakama, which was based on Beis Shammai. Once you say something, we ignore the next part. We just grab that and go with it. So even if he says Adashim, it doesn't matter, because once he says I am bringing mincha, stop right there. Those words have effect. Mechti, let's analyze this discussion. Chizkiah kiman mukibla l'masnisin. Who did Chizkiah learn the Mishnah like? Beis Shammai, right? Just like Beis Shammai say, Hareini Nazir triggers Nazirus despite the fact that he added totally unacceptable materials. There as well, Harei mincha triggers a carbon mincha. Asks the Gemara, so what difference does it make whether he added figs, dates, lentils, or barley? The value of lentils relative to a mincha, totally unsuitable, right? It's like kigregrace, like the dried figs, the Gabi Nazir, by the Nazir story. Damu, right? The Kamar Beis Shammai have a Nazir. And still Beis Shammai hold, you become a Nazir. Over there as well, Harei mincha triggers a carbon mincha, irrespective of how he concluded that statement. Hadarbei Chizkiah, you're right. According to Chizkiah's first approach, that it's based on Beis Shammai, there would be no difference between barley or lentils. Chizkiah retracted. He changed his interpretation of that Mishnah. Rather, the reason there is because he made a mistake. He's coming back and he's saying, look, I thought you can bring the mincha from barley, I was mistaken. Like Rabbi Yechon's approach. Chizkiah changed his whole way of understanding that Mishnah. And therefore, the only way it works, the only way it triggers a chiyuv mincha, is if the material that he referenced are within the realm, or within the realm of within the margin of error. It's only if he can excuse himself by saying, look, I thought that you can bring from the sa'irim, but I really meant to bring chitim. Why do you think sa'irim? Because I know some menachos are brought from sa'irim. So that's when we accept his interpretation. That's what he meant all along, to bring a regular menach. He thought you could bring sa'irim. But of course, if he says adoshim, which is totally out of the ballpark, it's totally unsuitable. That's totally out of the realm of error, of mistake. It does not trigger a chiyuv mincha. So Chizkiah and Rabbi Yechon today are trotting on the same path. The reason for chiyuv is because he says, "Okay, I made a mistake, but I really meant to bring a mincha." Why did Chizkiah change his mind? Because the wording of the Mishnah indicated as such. He had a difficulty in the details of the Mishnah. Why does the Mishnah specify barley? Listen, it should have given us a bigger chiddush. If he says, I'm bringing a mincha from lentils, it works. Apparently it doesn't. Ela Sabra Chizkiah. Rather, Chizkiah holds, Ki Ka'amri Beis Shammai Hasam Ki Rabbi Yehuda. That when Beis Shammai say that a fellow who says, Hareini Nazir min agregros, it triggers some chiyuv, it must be like Rabbi Yehuda's pshat, it only triggers a chiyuv neder, I must keep away from gregros. And we assume all he meant to do was make a neder from Gregores. Although he said the word Nazir, he just meant as an expression of distancing, of separation. So bottom line is, it's not like we just, focus on half of your statement and ignore the rest. That was the first way to understand Beis Shammai. No. Let's go with Rabbi Yehuda's approach. Nazirus is out of the question. All that happens is he becomes aser from Gregores, from Dvela. And likewise in the case of the mincha, when I said I'm bringing a mincha from barley, it's chayiv because that's what I meant. But again, that only works if it's within reason. Barley and wheat are interchangeable. He figured, okay, just like you could bring the mincha so from barley, you can bring a regular mincha, but if he says adoshim, lentils, forget about it. There's no chiyiv at all. Rabbi Yehuda Amar afilu min adoshim. Here comes Rabbi Yehuda and he says just the opposite. If he says I'm bringing a mincha from adoshim, Tanakama will hold his chayiv to bring a mincha. 1 second. This is totally inconsistent with Rabbi Yehuda who learned. The reason for chiyiv is because it's within the realm of mistake. He really meant to bring a regular mincha. You can't apply that rationale to lentils. Rabbi Yehuda Amar, Rabbi Yehuda himself told us a minute ago, but it only works because he himself, the fellow, is interpreting, he's claiming, he's explaining his words. If I would have known that you can't bring an eder from barley, I wouldn't have committed to barley. Rather, I would committed to bring wheat. That only works within the realm of error, but lentils? Answers the Gemara. You're right. Rabbi Yehuda himself wouldn't include lentils. It's not within the margin of error. Rabbi Yehuda was simply referring to Chizkiah on his wavelength. He says like this: at my time, kahadrosbach. A minute ago, you, Chizkiah, told me that the reason why it's chayav to bring a regular mincha is because, it's Beis Shammai, it's Rab Meir, Ein Adam Moitzi Dvar Latala. Once you say the words Harei La Mincha, that triggers a chiv, irrespective of what you added. Right? So that would apply to anything. Mincha from Sa'irim, from Adashim, we don't care. Harei La Mincha triggers a chiv mincha. So why'd you change your mind? My time kahadrosbach. Your question was, Misham Blaktanim in Adashim? Because if so, why didn't the Mishnah speak about lentils? Apparently it's not included in the halacha. No, never. Perhaps the Mishnah was just trying to say, a bigger chiddush. Needless to say, it goes without saying, when a person says, I am bringing mincha from Adashim, of course it triggers a regular chiv mincha. Why? Because everybody knows there is no mincha from Adashim. He's just changing his mind. Too bad. Because there we can explain, he's simply changing his mind. He decided he doesn't want to bring a mincha anymore. That's why he's adding, unrealistic, details there. Which allows us to focus on the first part of his expression, like Rameir. And therefore he's chayav to bring a regular mincha. So that goes without saying, that's pashut. The chiddush is barley. Because perhaps over there, it isn't necessarily a contradiction in his mind. Eloki Amar min ha'sa'irim. The chiddush is even when he says, I am bringing mincha from sa'irim. There's good reason to believe that this is what he meant. That he really wanted to bring from sa'irim. Otherwise he doesn't want to bring a mincha. If my mincha can be kaddish, even though it's barley, like a regular mincha sa'imer, which is barley. Or another example, like a mincha saita. Then okay, Tiglish, then I want it. Eloi, but otherwise it doesn't work, I don't want it. And if it doesn't work, there should be no chiyuv. That's what I would think. Kamashmon, the chiddush is no, the maisim and achita. We don't say that. We say, Ein Adam Moisi Dvar Latala. Once you say it, that's it, we accept it. Even though you added some unrelated stuff, doesn't matter. Tfais Lashon Rishon, and you are chayiv to bring a regular a mincha. Like Beis Shammai, like Rab Meir. Ein Adam Moitzi Dvar Latala. So that was Rabbi Yehuda's response to Chizkiah. But ultimately, it would seem that Chizkiah held differently. The reason for the Tanakama being mechayiv a mincha, in this case, is because this fellow simply made a mistake, and he's claiming as such. And therefore it only works if it's within the reason of reasonability, within margin of error, barley and wheat, but not adash. So bottom line is, a person says, Harei la mincha min, well, if he says min asayrim, Tanakam says he brings chitim. Chizkiah in the Havamina is Beis Shammai. Ultimately he says, no, it's not Beis Shammai. Otherwise we would speak about lentils as well. No, it's Rabbi Yehuda. That we just reinterpret that he meant to bring the chitim, like the Rabbi Yehuda and Al Mishnah, or Nazir and Agregres. Well, he said that he just wants to be a neder from Gregors, so we accept it as fact, even though he used some unrelated language. Likewise, Rabbi Yechanan learns, was speaking that he says, I made a mistake, I really meant to bring chit. According to Rabbi Shimon, it doesn't work. It's not kederach ha-misnadvim. What about if he says min ha'adashim? Ultimately, all agree it doesn't work. According to Tanakama, it doesn't work because it's not something that he can claim to have meant, meaning it's not within the reason, within the realm of error. It's not within the margin of error. It doesn't work. According to Rabbi Shimon, once again, it's not kederach ha-misnadvim. It certainly does not work. Okay, so bottom line is we have a Mishnah. Harei Nazir min ha'gregos min ha'dvela. Beis Shammai say it works. Beis say it doesn't work. We have three ways to explain the machlekes. We have the Tanakama who says, well, according to Beis Shammai, he's a total Nazir. Reb Meir, ein adam moiseh dvarav latola, and the fact that he added min ha'gregos, which would seem like he's trying to change his mind. That doesn't work. You can't undo a commitment, whether it's hegdish or Nazir. Beis Hillel hold like Reb Shimon. There's no commitment at all. According to Rav Noson's approach, we have Rav Noson number 2, which corresponds with Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah. Beis Shammai is simply obligating a neder from Gregory's, and even that Beis Hillel disagree with. And according to Rav Noson number 1, Beis Shammai give him a choice. It's up to him to explain what he meant, Nazir or neder. Beis Hillel hold neder from Gregory's. We made reference to Rab Shimon. To Rab Shimon's shita of Lois Nadev, we brought the Mishnah, a fellow who says, I'm bringing a mincha from a different type of material. Beis Shammai, Tanakama says it's chayiv, Rab Shimon says it's potter. And ultimately we explained that it's all a question of whether he can claim he had that in mind. I would have known, I would have spoken chitim, and therefore Tanakama says it's mechayiv chitim. Even that, Rab Shimon says it's potter, Lois Nadev. Kederach ha-misnadvim, when you speak neder, you speak nedavar, it has to be clear cut. Otherwise, it's not obligatory. All the best to you, Hatzlacha Rabbah and B'suras Tevis.